buat itu ya. Mana? Tapi dia lagi ini baca. Terus launch meeting lagi. Sini, terus. Okay. The people from this not yet arrived. We wait. So the discussion should be like this, yeah. Mau Anton enter, okay. The discussion, not necessary, Francis, you talk all the time. So it's flowing, yeah. Anybody can talk, yeah. But the one that arranged the traffic, is going to talk and so on, because I have the list of the name here, and I know the people from the government. So we have to give opportunity also for them to say the research, and with that we have a complete picture what they have done. So then we can give our input. So the goal is to see what is the best way to do that. Not to cancel the program, not like that, but to see, from all aspect, especially for security. So far we have 23 people and we are limited sampai 30 ya Pak ya. Actually to 25. So Mo Anton is here, Peggy. So we have to wait another. Ibu Siti Alfia, Ibu selamat malam Bu.
Selamat malam Pak.
Ya, terima kasih. Ibu dari Gajah Mada atau dari mana?
Dari Salatiga, dari Kementerian Kesehatan Pak.
Ada 3 orang ya, Ibu Siti, terus siapa lagi ya?
Ibu Lulus, ini sudah hadir.
Dan
Ibu Riani.
Ibu Riani udah datang?
Belum sepertinya.
Jadi gini Bu ya, ini kan ada rencana dari Kementerian Kesehatan ya untuk melakukan ini, dan saya juga ada beberapa expert. Sorry, I speak Indonesia ya. Ada beberapa expert dari luar. Saya sampaikan ke Pak Menteri. Pak Menteri, ini banyak orang di Bali yang belum tahu, gitu ya. Pemuka-pemuka agamanya juga belum tahu. Nah, di sini kita ada Ibu Francis yang mendalami soal genetic engineering, ada Ibu Margaret, nanti ada Dolores Kahel, dia itu Nobel Prize nomination gitu. Jadi tujuannya untuk memberikan masukan yang terbaik untuk government itu apa gitu nanti.
Iya, baik.
Tadi saya kontak Pak Menteri, Pak Menterinya lagi sakit kan ya. Beliau jadi dia monitor lah, beliau monitor gitu. Nah jadi mungkin ya Bu Siti, kita ini flowing aja ya, ngeflow ya Bu. Nanti ada Pak Cok ini dokter, dia ahli dalam dengue fever. Selamat malam Dr. Cok, Pak Cok, good evening. Ibu Siti ikut research-nya kan? Paham betul ya? Oke. So this is 21:30 and we have to wait one more. Siapa Bu tadi yang satu lagi Bu? Selain Ibu Siti, Ibu Lulus, Pak Lulus atau Ibu?
Ibu Riani Pak. Ya.
Ibu Riani belum datang ya?
Iya.
Ya. Ini all the conversation will be in English Bu. Ya. Jadi nanti we also expect from your side also give your contribution. Ya, oke, Bu. Ibu Rina, Ibu Siti, sama Ibu Lulus. Ibu semua ya?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I just, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to this Gladiator Bangsa Forum. And we have now, actually we are limiting for 30 people, but it's 31 people, but our program is live stream, YouTube, and 100,000 million of people follow that. Ya, ini Bu Ariani ya, Desvalina. So, before this evening program begins, let me recite the mission of Gladiator Bangsa. Gladiator Bangsa meaning the nation Gladiator. Many, perhaps within our audience, are familiar with this purpose. But for those who are new to the new program, I will explain what the mission of Gladiator Bangsa. Gladiator Bangsa is to cultivate future leaders that will contribute to the betterment of the nation by learning from meaningful events in the life of others. In the past, Gladiator using physical force to bring about change. Today, to achieve their vision, gladiators needs to exercise courage with integrity. Courage with integrity. Given the political environment prevailing worldwide, we know this combination of courage with integrity to be a very rare currency. So this is the challenge that we bring tonight to Gladiator Bangsa Forum, to Gladiator Bangsa participants, and why we invite the presence of very prominent, inspiring individuals, such as our special guest this evening, Francis Micklem. And she's not alone. Good evening, Francis. Our gladiators have come from all sectors of society, as the experience of each in their own way has relevance to Indonesian future leaders. Now I have my colleague here, Dr. Kun. Dr. Kun is going to be also the host here. I'm going to summarize our meeting. I will ask you, Dr. Kun, to introduce our guests and begin the program, but don't forget we have also representative appointed by the Minister of Health. There are 3 scientists here, so we are going to have healthy discussion. Go ahead, Dr. Kun. Your microphone.
Thank you so much, Prof. Richard. Yeah, here in this Gladiator Bangsa meeting, we have Francis Micklem, a sustainability specialist and an author with 2 decades of experience. Is a prominent green transition journalist. In 2021, she played a crucial role in raising awareness about the risk of gene editing and GMO 2.0 through white papers for the Institute for Responsible Technology. With a first-class honors degree in mathematics-based philosophy, she is also a registered organic farmer and horticulture teacher. Her core mission is to promote innovative approach to habitat restoration, health, and food system, steering away from conventional pest control and resource management. So we are happy here, Francis Micklem, be the resource person in this Gladiator Bangsa. So I pass back to you, Prof. Richard. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Kun. And Francis, I will just start with your knowledge. You have a variety of knowledge. You are also a healer. And I think the topic of genetic engineering is not foreign for you. You are familiar. Can you tell me the good things and the bad thing about this genetic engineering? Before we enter to what our government do with the project of the Mosquito, I think there's a different. Maybe it's not genetic engineering. Ibu Siti, kita bukan genetic engineering kan Mosquito, kita genetic drive ya Bu. Ibu saya.
Okay.
Yes, oh, sorry.
Mr.
Yes.
Richard, we have Mr. Warsito
Yeah.
here. Mr. Warsito is from Gajah Mada University. He is a researcher from Gajah Mada University, especially Wolbachia infected Aedes aegypti. Yeah.
Oh, Francis, if you don't mind, let me ask Dr. Warsito to explain actually what is Gajah Mada doing.
Brilliant.
What do you think? It's okay with all
Yes,
respect?
thank you.
Pak Varsito, good evening, Pak Varsito.
Halo,
Halo.
morning.
Terima
Nice to
kasih,
see you
Pak.
all.
Pak Varsito, bisa
Yes.
educate kita nggak, Pak? Can you educate us
Right.
about what the prominent Gajah Mada University
Yeah.
do?
Okay. Yeah. Former is former. I was a researcher in the UGM University, Gajah Mada University, because there were the program that the what we call it as what you call it. Just wait, because I just need to take a breath first. Okay. There is the group that we call as the WMP Yogyakarta, which is the consortium, the research of consortium between Monash University and Gajah Mada University, that funded by the local national philanthropy called as Yayasan Tahia. So what we did is we assess the potential of the Wolbachia to reduce the dengue. We started in 2012. So we started with the phase 1 with the risk assessment, and then and we got a result that the Wolbachia has the very low in terms of the risk. And then we continue with the release in small area. We release in the hamlet, Sleman and Bantul, and we assess it the establishment, and we release in the small number, and then we continue on the monitoring, not only monitoring the establishment of the Wolbachia, but also the risk of the Wolbachia to the environment. And then this is a clear that all the product already published. And then in total, after we got it good establishment of the mosquito Wolbachia, we started to think about impact of the Wolbachia in the reduce of the dengue. So we did a really comprehensive study. We called this the randomized control trial. In Yogyakarta, we divided into 24 blocks, and then we randomly selected, and then the 12 of the block we applied with the Wolbachia, and then other as control. And this is under the really steering committee, under the monitoring of the independent, etc. And we got the results already published as well in the really high reputation of the journal. And then in this study concluded that Wolbachia is really effective to reduce the dengue. So the effectiveness can be about 77%, the reduction of the dengue case, but not only in this impact actually, but also reduce the hospitality to about 68%. And then the last, actually, we monitored the fogging, effect to the fogging, and then the Wolbachia technology also reduced the fogging to the 83%. So that's why, I mean, we are really comprehensive study about the risk. And then also there is a panel of the independent panel that consists of various expert, and then assess the Wolbachia and conclude that Wolbachia doesn't have any risk, significant risk for the environment. And there is about 34 variables that assess it: environment, politics, business, public health, and then etc. The report is already on the journal, on the publication, sorry, proven, and then mentioned that the risk is actually negligible. So this is just a brief about what we done 12 years, more than 12 years. And then started 2012 and then finished it last year, 2022. So thank you very much.
Amazing, Pak Varsito. So, Pak, I'm a little bit ignorant about this. It is what is a technology, genetical engineering technology?
No.
So
This is the Wolbachia is natural. So I can send I can send a lot of paper to you if you want, whoever on here. So the Wolbachia is not really, it's not the GMO product. This is naturally, this is really common on the insect. We assess it in here. We assess, also a lot of paper actually, or explore it in other area and concluded that Wolbachia is really common for the insect. In here, for example, in Jogja, just a brief collection of the insect around us. we got it that 50% of them having Wolbachia. And this is really old symbiont between insect and Wolbachia. So the Wolbachia, the incentive to the Aedes aegypti is totally the natural Wolbachia that we found it on the natural one. So the strain that we use it is only one. We called FW male. That this is isolated from the Drosophila melanogaster, and we tested the similarity between the Wolbachia and the Drosophila melanogaster and the Wolbachia and the Drosophila melanogaster and Drosophila Wolbachia and the mosquito. This is totally same, so identical. So there is no modification. There is no work like the technical things to change the Wolbachia that we inserted it to the Aedes aegypti. And Aedes aegypti itself is no version that we don't work with the genetic of the Aedes aegypti. This is the same because the concept of the technology is actually how we release the mosquito that can be mating with a wild one. So the concept is actually how to introduce the Wolbachia on the population. And Wolbachia is what you call it, natural, and then no GMO. And then we already assessed it that there is no risk. And then the good thing is actually the very huge impact on the reduction of the dengue. So that's why this is the point.
So, Dr. Warsito, if you can please share the research paper or link that you mentioned, we will appreciate it. And by the way, the technology that you use is the first in the world?
No, and the Wolbachia is actually the Wolbachia technology actually first introduced in Australia, because this is actually under our firstly is actually developed by the Monash University, but Wolbachia doesn't have a nationality. You can find anywhere in Africa, in Australia, in Indonesia, etc. And then the Indonesia is only one of thing is there are more than 11 countries that right now is working with Wolbachia technology. This is the country that which are under the WMP, World Mosquito Program. But there is another scholar that's working on China, on Malaysia, and Singapore, working also on the Wolbachia one as well, but a different approach. So I can put it on the I can put it a lot of actually the document that we have about the assessment, about the impact of the Wolbachia, and then how is we work with Wolbachia technology in Yogyakarta, etc. Thank you.
While we have discussion, you can write maybe your link or research paper to the sketch if you have time. So I'll let Francis. Francis, Micklem, you want to say from another side?
Hello.
I think it's very clear explanation from Dr. Warsito.
Thank you very much. It's just a brief because I didn't prepare anything.
Amazing, you're amazing.
Thank you very much for the chance to talk about. But there is a Pak Asik here from the MOH. There is another scholar in my group as well.
Siapa namanya, Pak?
Pak Asik is there as well. Bu Lulus is there. Agus is there. A lot of actually MOH is working. What you can join in this program.
So we have plenty of scientists here from Indonesia. There is
also there is a Prof Adi. Prof Adi is the leader of the project. So if you
Professor Adi is here.
Adi Utarani, yes.
Hello, Professor Adi. Hi.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm just listening, and I'm glad Pak Warsito already explained everything. I think hopefully that will enrich the conversation.
Yeah,
and I certainly hope that the science speaks for itself, and that we have very good evidence to how do you call it, to put everything in the right sort of track, that the technology is working, and we have very good evidence on that.
Very good, bro. Thanks, Prof, to give encouragement. Thanks, Dr. Warsito. So how if we go to Francis, Francis, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing actually what they've achieved, because although we thought they might be genetically engineered because of other genetically engineered mosquitoes being released in other parts of the world, actually discovered that they're actually kind of bred to carry this natural helpful bacteria, Wolbachia. So that's really exciting, except for the fact that, can you hear me?
Yes, sure. Continue.
Sorry. That is really brilliant and very clever, but I think what it's actually called is a gene drive. So they've been able to bring in a new trait that isn't found usually in the Aedes aegypti, and find a way to bring it into its genetic makeup so that it can pass from generation to generation. So, I mean, it's extremely clever and amazing. But the thing about a gene drive is that it's, in a way, an introduction of a new species into the environment where there wasn't already a natural niche. And actually, the other thing about the Wolbachia is that it boosts the immune system of the mosquito, not of us. Mosquito bites will still weaken our immune system, but it boosts the immune system of the Wolbachia, and that means it can compete with the dengue, with all the other pathogens. But of course, the problem is when you're intercompeting, all microbes are intercompeting. So that could be a situation down the line where it doesn't compete quite so well. But more importantly, which I think hopefully there's also congratulations in order, is that I think this is the first gene drive that's ever been released in open air. As far as I know from DARPA and all the other governing bodies, there's never been a gene drive before, apart from created in a laboratory situation. So I think that must be testament to the extremely high safety standards to be given that permit. So just wondering if we can hear about those risk assessments, because sometimes risk assessments can be difficult and sometimes not even called for when it's all natural. You know, people can say, oh, yeah, well, the bacteria is natural, the mosquitoes are natural, so it doesn't really count as a gene edited or a GMO of any description or of a novel species. But, you know, there isn't a species of that exact niche, and it's exceptionally robust. So there are going to be implications for all the other insects, pollinators, good and bad, and also all the other species that it interacts with. And so I just wanted to know what risk assessments were done, and how did they manage to get this permit to release them into the environment and into Bali environment.
Oh, okay. Itu ada questions ya. Maybe dari kawan-kawan friends from Gajah Mada can respond for that. There is a question from Francis about the safety, risk management, and how get the assessment to release it in Bali. Teman-teman yang dari Gajah Mada bisa respons, please.
Yeah, Francis, I'm not sure, but there might be other persons because UGM is not involved in the release in Bali. So we are just doing the study in Yogyakarta. That's what we are doing. So if you are asking in Bali, then perhaps other participants in this webinar could respond to you.
Okay, but there is another about the risk assessment of that book.
Yeah, I'll give the link to you for the risk assessment because this is already published.
Okay,
there's similar risk assessment to my knowledge in Vietnam and also certainly in Australia, and then one published from Yogyakarta. So you might want to go through the papers first. I will shortly put the link for the risk analysis on Wolbachia, Pak.
Iya Bu, ya bisa di meeting chat ini aja Bu, karena meeting chatnya kan kita we keep ya. So for our file, yeah. Thank you for that submit. We have Dr. Chok here. Dr. Chok is his PhD is in dengue fever. Dr. Chok, Gede Kertayasa, Are you there? Pachok?
Yes, I'm here. Just make a small correction. I don't hold a doctorate degree.
Oh, sorry.
But, that's okay. That's okay. I'll take it as a compliment there. Yeah, no, I was involved in dengue fever research in a master's honors program with University of New England. I'm based in Bali. My dengue fever research was actually about treatment of dengue fever using natural substances, including homeopathic medications and different herbal interventions, such as papaya leaf and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about the approach, unusual approach or new approach using Wolbachia?
Well, you know that
situation of dengue fever in Indonesia is very bad.
Yes, and there are definitely seasonal trends. Usually, traditionally, with dengue fever, you see 5-year spikes. So what happens is the population, most of the population is exposed to dengue fever. But only a small percentage of those people exposed to dengue fever will actually exhibit symptoms and actually fall ill with it. So what happens is a population develops what you might call herd immunity to a particular strain of dengue fever, and then once it happens usually in a season, typically around the end of the rainy season, you know, when the mosquitoes are particularly rife. And then after that bad season, we generally have a drop off in severe cases and sort of epidemic level cases for about, traditionally it's been around 5 years. However, you know, as time goes by, I think what I've observed personally in Bali is that, you know, in the earlier part of the 2000s, 2007, 2009, 2010, there were more severe epidemics of it. The level, you know, and again, I mean, you need to consult the different bodies on that, but yeah, we haven't seen as bad outbreaks as we did back then. But I was also privy to the studies into the Wolbachia interventions back in those days, and there were many different studies that were also questioning basically whether it's mosquito population or human population that actually increases the incidence of dengue fever. And there's a Brazilian study, I'm sorry, I don't have access to it now, but you know, there's a quite extensive Brazilian study that showed it. The actual problem is human population, not so much mosquito population. So that was sort of, you know, an assessment of whether that particular intervention would be, would be applicable. And there was also questions around the potential for viral mutations, which we, you know, any biologist, particularly in virology, would tell you that there is a potential for that, and I would wonder if the any members of the scientific community in the discussion would have further information on whether any research has been done in that. I think there's also a lot of regurgitated research in the dengue field, talking about the different serotypes, etc. I think there's a lot more variation in it, and it would be very interesting. I'm also very interested in the risk assessments, etc. And if there is a potential, I mean, you know, we've just witnessed a whole lot of viral mutation in, you know, what the world has just gone through. And I mean, you know, viral mutation is quite a common thing with influenza and etc. So and also mosquito, like Dr. Francis just raised, then mosquito resilience and immunity and their potential. And also, it would be very interesting to hear more about if there is, we can obviously say that Wolbachia is a safe bacteria. Well, the dengue fever virus would also be safe if you washed your face with it, but it's not safe once it's injected directly into the bloodstream through a mosquito. Same could be said for malaria. So, as a health scientist, we know that there are different, what we call delivery systems for different diseases. And you can eat a certain pathogen and it will not cause a problem. But if that pathogen passes through direct blood, let's say, mechanisms, or it passes through respiratory mechanisms, then it has a different relationship with the human organism and potentially any other animal organisms. So yeah, I would be very interested to see if there's been studies directly assessing the impact of Wolbachia variant mosquitoes, but that have transmitted anything to humans. So that would be another interesting thing. And if there is any kind of a viral interaction with the Wolbachia mosquitoes and dengue fever, chikungunya, Zika, malaria, etc., etc. Yeah. So
Yeah.
That's all from me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
By the way, as far as I know, dengue fever in Indonesia almost every year you have, but I don't know until the level of endemic. But what friends from Gajah Mada try, 70% decrease, and hospitality also reduced to 56%, ya Pak Marsito, ya. So it's quite successful, I think. What is your response on that?
Yeah, that appears to be successful. You'd also see a big reduction. I mean, it also depends on. It's a difficult one to compare with. Let's say if that study was done on the directly following, let's say, an epidemic outbreak of dengue, then you would see a natural increase in, let's say, in immunity in the population.
Oh, okay.
That's a normal thing to happen. It's like the flu. It's like any kind of a viral outbreak. You will eventually, you have your epidemic stage of it, and then you will eventually have herd immunity, if you like, in the population. So again, it's a hard one to quantify. It's a very hard one to study because it depends on a number of variables, and it's a difficult one because you can't necessarily go out and test the whole a large population for immunoglobulin markers that would show some kind of an immunity to it. But yeah, I mean, in a densely populated area, if you did reduce mosquitoes, then I would say that yes, it's sort of common sense that perhaps the viral transmission chances would be reduced. But again, there's actually a lot that's not necessarily known about dengue fever, I think, from the research. There's a lot of, like I say, repeated references. Yeah, it would be a very interesting thing to actually have a look at how that, if there's a way to study the carrying capacity of the mosquito when it comes to the virus. Yeah.
Okay. Francis, actually, Ibu Adi already responds that about the risk assessment. There is a study of that, and she gave the link of that. You have a further comment, or you wanna?
Yes, please, because as far as I know, and that the trials that we got those promising results from were on adult mosquitoes being dropped into Yogyakarta, and the risk assessment was done using artificial intelligence that belongs to Microsoft, and that is maybe very clever, but is also an infant technology. So whether we really want the infant technology of artificial intelligence deciding the safety of another infant technology being gene drives, I'm not sure. And the really poignant thing is the fact that what they're planning for barley is eggs, mosquito eggs. And the study in 2013 in Sweden found that the eggs carry all the pathogens that the adult mosquito carry. Now, that's a real issue if we're importing eggs from Brazil, if we're even just bringing eggs from Jakarta, because actually we have a situation where we're not just perpetuating the Wolbachia helpful bacteria, we're also bringing all those pathogens in, dengue. In Sweden, there was Ockelbo, there was the driving of new diseases that they couldn't even decide what they were. And so that is an issue. And the thing about Wolbachia, although they say it can't transmit to humans, that quite a lot of studies say that, other studies say that, yes, it's actually found in the common roundworm parasite in humans and in fish and found in birds, all the things that eat the larvae and eat the eggs and potentially eat the mosquitoes, and all of which are transmitted to us and interacting with our worm burden, which everyone has one. And so that is a huge risk. There's actually a lot of evidence that, and I checked each one. I'm not sure if actually the risk assessment or the trials checked each virus that was present, whether they checked for dengue and for Zika and for all the different ones. I didn't see that. But when I was studying, I asked, can dengue, can Zika, can all of them, individual papers, how they are transmitted through the eggs. So it's very serious. And actually the Wolbachia presence in the parasites and in the human body was found to exacerbate a lot of diseases. And then when they managed to combat the disease, the Wolbachia dropping into the system of the human was another horrendous series of illnesses. So, and this is all related to, they said that it causes some of the most debilitating disease in tropical medicine. So, that's just one quote, but it's important. It really is important, because if this Wolbachia is ever present, and it's not just present in mosquitoes and biting us, those eggs have to be heated up, rehydrated. Then they'll spend 2 weeks as larvae eating in that water. That's what they do. They live in water, eating organic matter. So the Jakarta ones are supposed to be able to survive in fresh water, and maybe that'll be a slightly contained situation. But whether it will be 500 meters or whatever the basic protocol is for not setting them free within 500 meters of a watercourse, I don't know. I don't think it can be possible, especially in a built-up area. So we have a very serious situation on our hands, and I don't think, and one of the big problems with checking for risk assessments is that a lot of, or maybe not even the risk assessment, maybe even the developing of this technology, is that what happens in a laboratory is they're really looking for successes. They're looking for what happened that they were hoping would happen. It's very difficult, and there's not very much funding put towards looking at what could happen to the detrimental side of things, let alone the huge range of horizontal gene transfer, ingestion, skin penetration, etc.
Yes, I understand your concern, but Ibu Adi explained that the research that they did in Jogja is nothing to do with the releasing mosquito in Bali. Ibu Adi, maybe you clarified that, because you know nothing about the plan to release the mosquito in Bali, Dr. Adi. Guadi?
I think I need to say it very carefully. What I'm saying is that UGM is doing the study in Yogyakarta, full stop. So is that clear that we are doing the study in Yogyakarta?
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. So so we are not doing the study in Bali. So you have to ask people who is doing this in Bali, and perhaps I don't know if Pak Warsito has more knowledge on what's happening in Bali. But what I'm saying is that we are doing the study in Yogyakarta.
Okay, understand.
And Francis, when you said that the Yogyakarta study, now I would really encourage all of us to refer to the relevant papers, which have been a lot published. And the release that we are doing is egg release. We are doing the egg release, not the adult release. So the trial in Yogyakarta city, where the evidence you mentioned, Richard, 77.1 and 86.2, that was the intervention was based on egg release.
Yeah,
right?
Right.
I'm just sorry I missed the beginning of this discussion. So I joined when Pak Warsito is already explaining in the middle because I had something else. But just wanted to say that we need to be careful when we say Wolbachia intervention, because it's applied differently in this world. So which technology are we discussing? If we are discussing the one in Jogja and Indonesia in general, which is different to Wolbachia applies, for example, if you look at Singapore or other countries. So we need to be specific when you make statement about Wolbachia. Which intervention do you refer to? Because Indonesia is using this WMP technology. So yes, Richard, UGM is involved in doing the study in Yogyakarta, and this is the research which is then based on this research, the government of Indonesia, which I don't think I should speak on behalf of the government because I saw other people's here, but it was based on this research that the evidence was very strong. And even if you are aware of the Factor Control Advisory Group in the WHO, which is the independent body of WHO, it is based on the recommendation that we are then applying this in other countries. So in other areas, not in other countries, other areas in Indonesia. So I would say that in terms of safety, I think we've been very careful. We've been very careful on this, and during the time when we did the study, also the government of Indonesia, Ministry of Research and Technology, they are looking very closely on the study and how is it done. So I think if you have critical points about the risk analysis, which actually they consider what could happen also, Francis. So risk analysis is not just whether it's happening or not, but also looking all the hazards and looking at what could happen. And then, through all this model, then they finally concluded that this is the risk is negligible. And we are not doing the risk analysis. Don't think that we are doing the risk analysis. The risk analysis is done by an independent team. Yeah, this is an independent expert from different expertise, from social, economic point of view, factor, public health, economic, all range of different expertise, and they assess. They are doing the risk analysis. So it's not like we are doing the research and we are doing the risk analysis. It's not like that. So we hope through that I think the process is more objective, and please have a look at the paper. And similar paper also have been published from the risk analysis in Vietnam, I believe, and also in Australia. They are doing the risk analysis also. So I think it would be good if we all, look at the papers and then come with, your own critical point of view.
Yes, thank you.
Probably, I want to add, Prof. Adi, about, I think it's I concerned about Francis mentioned about what Wolbachia and the worm. Yes, that Wolbachia is actually what you call that symbiont of the arthropod. But in this technology, actually, we only use one strain of the Wolbachia from the thousand Wolbachia strain on the what you call that, on the arthropod. And then what this is really different family between the Wolbachia that use in the technology with the Wolbachia on the worm. So it's totally different. This is a totally different. Yeah. There is what you call a paper mentioning about the plastic, and then there is no relation between the Wolbachia on the worm, which is inside of the human body, and then Wolbachia that we use in the technology, in this technology.
Yes, before that, Ibu Adi, thank you for your explanation that what Ibu Adi said, that we have to be careful when we talk about Wolbachia, because there are many kind of research, many kind of approach, and that the research not in Bali, the research is in Jogja, that I think all of us realize. The reason why we have this program, because a few weeks ago, the mayor of Denpasar announced that they are going to release this mosquito without any explanation, and then this is create uncomfortable among the people here, and also among the what you call tokoh di sini. That's why I just report to the minister, say that we have to make more socializing about this. And I think Universitas Gadjah Mada is too humble, do not expose, as you know, the Javanese, they are so brilliant, but they are so humble to do this. And I think Ibu Adi, you should more outspoken about this, educating the people, so the people don't create any misunderstanding for the success of the program. We would like also to see that there is no dengue fever here, but I think the problem is there is no enough communication and suddenly announced by the government. And I think Dr. Chok, one of the leader in Bali, can give comment about that. Go ahead, Dr. Chok. Pak Chok Gede.
Yeah. Okay. Terima kasih. Yes. Yeah, I have been in contact with a few of the community leaders, and there has been very little very little, I think, socialization, and there's a little bit of concern, I think, especially when we are releasing something that is let's call it a biological variant. There has and when these kinds of programs are initiated, we also need to use language which can be understood by the general public and everything. And yeah, I think talking more about these the risk analysis and the potentials for other variants of illness that we may decrease the mosquito population, but what will be some of the other potential impacts if that was something, then yeah, we need to closely examine that. And I think Balinese are also very respectful of nature, I think, in general. And when humans start to, let's say, when we start to play around with God's creation, even if it's for a good purpose, then we need to be very certain that the risk will not will not outweigh the potential benefits. And I think it's very important for us to see a balanced comparison and discussion on both sides as to what that could potentially be. Reduction of mosquitoes is one thing. We could also be looking at reduction of mosquitoes in the improvement of the infrastructure. I think in Bali, it would be very nice to see some of the tax rupiah that this island generates going into more improvement, especially in waterway infrastructure and things like that. I think there's a number of other things that could be done before we go in and start playing around with nature, because I think that's something that we're very, very cautious of. There's even a Balinese legends about this, about the mosquito and what happens when one of the geckos, toke, he wishes that there are no mosquitoes, and everything sort of falls apart. I'm not saying that I love mosquitoes, but there's an important thing to observe in the balance of nature and in what God creates, and how much we should be intervening in that and really assessing. Because I've had a look, just a quick glance at the risk analysis, and I would really like to see if you can share more, of the human impact, direct human impact in terms of potential disease mutations, etc., in subjects who are exposed directly to bites from one of these mosquitoes or multiple of them. And if there are any of those research papers available, it would be very good to see that. But and that would be a full health assessment. It wouldn't just be an analysis of dengue fever. There are many, many other variables that would be important to look at in that discussion.
So you would like to see the impact of human being bite by this mosquito with Wolbachia. Is this what you mean?
Yes, I would really be interested to see, and this wouldn't be an RCT. This would be direct, clinical study on the overall health impact, particularly the hematology results, and also the general health status of individuals who were directly bitten only by those particular mosquitoes. And I'm sure they could do something in a controlled environment with that. I wonder if there are any studies out there. That would be very interesting to see. Prolonged exposure, and it would be very important. I mean, when you do something like this, to look at least a 5-year follow-up, when we're looking at these kinds of, a little bit like a vaccine program should be, at least a 5-year study on the direct, on the health implications of direct biting or exposure to that particular a mosquito that has had the intervention. The
human being. That's very interesting. That's very
because that's what we're talking about in the end, isn't it? Dengue fever is a human disease. It's a human problem. I mean, there are many, many other implications on the ecosystem. I think to demonize mosquitoes is also you got to be careful with that. Nothing in God's creation, nothing in nature is there for no reason. And I think we in Indonesia, we believe very strongly in the divine nature of the creator, and we have been, it's in all of our legends, in every suku bangsa semua punya kan, di mana manusia itu menjadi terlalu, akalnya menjadi terlalu pintar kadang-kadang kita harus hati-hati. So we need to, I think it would be very, very interesting to see if we have any studies on the direct the direct health impact of subjects, human subjects, exposed, with prolonged exposure to being, to those particular mosquitoes.
Thank you, Pak Jo. Before Dr. Warsito atau Ibu Adi responds, because we want to know What is the impact in health impact if this mosquito bite a human being? But before that, I hope I come back to Francis. Go ahead, Francis.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I think it is interesting because they might have access to blood and testing on human subjects, because there are so many eggs being manufactured at the moment, or produced or bred, and every mosquito that produces has to actually have blood within 2 or 3 days beforehand to do that producing. But you really hit on a point a minute ago about the population. Yes, Wolbachia might reduce the population of mosquitoes, but that part of it isn't that clear, I think, because we've been told that Wolbachia has been chosen as a very useful way to prevent the other pathogens thriving in the system, and therefore prevents them being passed on. But actually, the other mechanism in Wolbachia, which I think they must have been chosen for, and I'd like to hear, is that actually only wild Aedes aegypti are not going to survive. Only the ones that are infected with Wolbachia will survive. And this is part of how the gene drive works, but it's also part of how we end up, hopefully, with just helpful mosquitoes with the harmless bacteria. But the reality is, if we compare that, these ones that are about to be released, even to genetic engineered ones, which I wouldn't be a massive fan of, at least in the genetically engineered ones, they added traits like a fluorescent gene so that they could be monitored. I don't know how these can be monitored, and they tried to release males only. And that obviously in the millions, it's difficult to monitor that. But for us, they're not planning to release males only. They're planning to release as many fertile eggs as possible, all of which will hatch. And also in the genetically engineered ones, they built in an aggressive trait to males, which was to decimate the wild population. And they also put in a trait to deform the mouths of the females so they couldn't bite and they wouldn't reach maturity and breed. I mean, these things, although they're horrible to think about, and they probably didn't work as planned, the fact is, at least they were built in. With these ones, I think we can expect, unless there's something that we don't know, and I'd love to know about the plan that is going to reduce the population at all and not put us in the same situation as Sri Lanka, who released a lot of mosquitoes 2 years ago, and now have a horrendous 2023, a horrendous mosquito larvae situation. And I gather for Bali, they're planning 200 million more eggs a year.
Yeah, okay. So the situation is like this, yeah? If I can conclude for a while, that the research done by the scientists in UGM is different from the other, yeah? It's different, it's not genetic engineering. So we have to be very careful when we mention about that. And they already did the trial in Jogja with, I think, 77% is a huge number. But the other things also, what say that the community leaders, they have their culture, and they are in conformity with the nature, and there is no enough explanation from this. Even the technology, let's say the technology is good, no side effect, but if the people is ignorant about that, I think it's a matter of to convey the safety of this. In that sense, then the question from Chok become relevant. Ibu Adi, maybe you can help us if there's any human impact, health impact, if it is the mosquito bite a human being. Maybe you can educate a little bit.
Maybe Pak Warsito has.
Pak Warsito atau
But
Pak?
we are doing it on dengue. In Yogyakarta, because we don't have Zika, so we only look at the impact on
Mosquito.
dengue on the human, on dengue and chikungunya in human. But chikungunya also, there's not much of a cases that, so we only concluded for dengue. So that was the study in Jogja. And you're talking about the impact on the human's health, right? So our outcome, primary outcome is dengue infection. And this is done by serological tests. So that's I think, but I'm trying to speak based on the evidence that we have from the study. So I'm not assuming, I'm not using other evidence. I'm just using the evidence that we have from this Wolbachia study in Jogja. Pak Warsito, please.
Yeah, I think it's thank you very much for the, we tested as well for the impact of the Wolbachia on the human health. So because in Yogyakarta, the mosquito actually fitted by human. And then on the early release, when we did it,
on the safety, you mean on the safety of Wolbachia for human,
And we voluntary from the community, we withdraw the blood, and when we tested the antibody, that probably to respond the Wolbachia, and then totally from the hundreds sample that we take it from the community, and then also take it from the human. That is like for me actually, I feed it mosquito from 2012, and then on the research they take it my blood and then tested the antibody, and then so far there is no antibody that suspected as the response of the Wolbachia. That is already published as well, and then I already put on the link. In terms of the Wolbachia, actually, as the Prof Uut mentioned, there are two approaches. One approach is actually for the population replacement, and the second approach is actually in the population reduction. So what French talk is about, mostly is about what you call that population reduction. So they release the male, because in the male there is the Wolbachia causes the cytoplasmic incompatibility, where male with Wolbachia, when mating with a female without Wolbachia, that the eggs is actually fertile, what you call it, sterile. So they cannot grow, become the larvae. So, and that's why this technology actually use it in Singapore and some area in other country. So they release the male, expected that the male with Wolbachia will mating with a female without Wolbachia, and then the population will be drop. So we expected that population drop will cause the drop of the case as well. But in Yogyakarta, under the WMP approach, we not concerned about the population. We concerned about the capacity of the Wolbachia to block the dengue virus inside of the body of the mosquito. So we released the male and female have because Wolbachia actually heredited to the generation to the generation. So we with one time of release about 6 months, and then Wolbachia frequency will increase, and in the same level, in the same level, they will maintain by themselves to increase by themselves. So we talk about the capacity of the Wolbachia to block. So we change the population with previously without Wolbachia become the identity with Wolbachia. So I think we have to be careful to look which one is actually we want to discuss in this. We want to review in this kind of the discussion. I think I agree with Adi Uttarani, but and totally in Indonesia with what we done in Yogyakarta and in Bali as well, we release the eggs. Conscious male and female, because we want to the change, not the change, but the replace of the population that previously without Wolbachia become the population with Wolbachia.
Thank you,
Richard. Can I add few things, Richard?
Sure, Ibu Adi.
I'm aware of time also.
No, it's okay, bro. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah,
bro.
so I'm not staying long in this webinar. Just two things. I hear that perhaps there's a concern, but that there is that there needs to be more information shared to the public, right?
Yeah.
And when talking about the public, what you specifically mentioned is about Bali.
Yeah.
Now, I would really suggest, Pak, please talk to the people who is doing it in Bali. So Dr. Chok, for example, you're not just talking to the community, but please have a discussion with the implementers in Bali. And perhaps you would like to say, okay, this is already done. And perhaps you could say, this needs to be done more in Bali so that the people will have more information about the technology, and so that what's happening in their lives, they know what's the knowledge, and then how are they going to implement that. So I would really encourage, please talk to the implementers there, rather than, we are trying to understand something, but I saw, also a lot of WhatsApp messages to the public, which is also confusing the public, because then you are sort of assuming that Wolbachia is genetic modification, which is not. So, that's one suggestion. Second, if you are curious about the science, which, this is what the scientists do, we communicate and we talk to each other, we explain, then that is something that we often do also. Pak Warsito also speaks in a lot of discussion, a lot of webinars, but let's keep it in that way. We could provide for you, we could even present what's the evidence with all the questions that you have. But I'm saying is that there are two things here. One, yes, maybe there's a need for the community in Bali to know more about this technology. So please talk to the implementers. And then secondly, if you want to know about the scientists, there's also a scientist behind this in Yogyakarta. If this is related to what we did in Yogyakarta, we are very happy to share. Also the papers, perhaps in some other discussion where we could present the evidence to you if you want to know. But the risk analysis, I can give the contact person, because this is done by IPB, Pak Richard,
Yeah, very
by
good.
Prof. So there we can have a really scientific discussion, and not much based on assumptions and those things. So that's what I'm going to say. And thank you for having this, Pak Richard. And I cannot stay long, but I'm sorry.
It's okay, Bu, but you summarized very well, Bu.
Yeah.
Very well.
Thank you, Pak Ibu.
So the situation is like this. We have to consider Bali is a very special place in Indonesia, because there are a lot of foreigners here, and this can create panics among them. And if this create panics, and people in Bali will suffer, as we know that the income of the people is most from tourism. And you can imagine if they release this, the implementer release this in November, there will be drop of tourism. So maybe if they want to implement in another area in Indonesia, maybe that's fine because there is no foreigners. So me also, I still work with the government. I just think that we have to think over about this to release this in Bali, not because we are doubt about the good faith of the UGM and government Indonesia. Not we don't doubt about the good faith of that, but if it is good, it's okay. But we have to really consider all aspects, the budaya, the culture, and so on. And if one fire is released about panic, nobody will come to Bali. And if you don't come to Bali, the effect will be change effect. Even you have a good faith, and then will come to the government, to UGM, to all scientists here. Dr. Pachok, your comments before I give to Pak Warsito. Thank you, Ibu Adi Utarini. Very nice of you.
Yes, thank you, Prof. I agree with everything except for one thing that you just said, that I wouldn't want it to be, I don't consider Bali to be any more important than any other part of Indonesia, I think the welfare of all of us, all people, should be placed as the number one concern. But you're right in saying that, yeah, there could be, it is a potentially sensitive subject. And unless it is really watertight. And again, you know, I just want to sort of say once again, you know, the human, I think Dr. Warsito gave us a brief outline of some safety parameters that were examined, but I think having a very, you know, very tightly controlled, at least probably 5-year follow-up on the health impact of exposure to those mosquitoes in a very tightly controlled environment. I'm not saying just, you know, in an open area where it was released, but seeing some very strong evidence for the safety, because, you know, it's sort of, it's an honorable, perhaps, goal to decrease disease prevalence. And I've had dengue fever myself. Members of my family have had it, and it's not a pleasant situation. However, you know, touch wood, we were all okay. But yeah, I think we really need to have a strong look at the risk versus the benefits. And if we, you know, there's sometimes an old saying, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, because basically, yeah, it would be important for and again, I speak on behalf of perhaps members of my own family, my father himself, who couldn't be with us today, but he was quite concerned as a community leader to learn more of the details on this. And I'm not just talking about the sales and marketing pitch on it. I mean the real science, because, you know, I am a scientist, and like Professor Uttarini was saying before, yeah, let's talk about the science of it. That's exactly what we want to do. And then we would be able to transmit that to people who had questions about it, and looking at all aspects of the science, including, and I'm very interested to hear also if there's anything else from Dr. Francis Micklem about things, or anyone else from the panel. Would be very interested to hear some more insight into that. And again, dengue fever and many, my other question would be if there have been any studies done on these particular mosquitoes with regards to malaria. That would also be an interesting thing. And I think it was stated before that there were no studies done on Zika. I think there was only dengue and chikungunya looked at. But yeah, I think we need to really also just really rule out the possibility that, you know, there could be any potential for an increase in or the potential for malaria to return to this part of Indonesia. We've been free from it for many years here in Bali, thankfully. So yeah, that's all from me, I think.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Prof.
So actually, you are not so satisfied with the answer from Dr. Warsito. You want the impact to the human health, but in the closed, really tight system with 5 years monitoring. This is what you mean?
Yeah, well, Dr. Warsito will understand as a scientist, you know, that scientists tend to be rather OCD about certain things, you know, and it's all well and good to say something, but we need to really see hard evidence on it. Yeah.
Ya, nanti Pak Warsito ya.
Just
Saya kasih Francis dulu ya, Pak ya.
yeah.
Maaf ya, Pak. Francis, do you have any additional comment?
I thought I heard the word moratorium, but I might have mistaken it. But I think that if there's going to be a 5-year anything, it has to be before it's released, because the thing about a gene drive is it's irreversible. And the World Health Organization themselves have a policy on gene drives, which is that they should be trialed only in steps. And those steps that they're referring to is on islands first, not continents. So we are a test bed. And I think we should have a moratorium. There's lots of conservation groups that say we should. And also, when said about interested in the science, I think it would be very important to have have that science presentation. Would love that, because then we'd know that they were taking responsibility for the science. And then there's a lot of talk about the implementers. So there seems to be a passing around of who is going to take responsibility. And also, we're frightened because the thing about dengue and the thing about microorganisms and organisms that have been that are so easy to spread is that they have been used as a bioweapon. And that was in the title. That's why I bring it up now. And actually, dengue was used as a bioweapon against Cuba 30 years ago. And now we have a situation where it fits all the bills. You know, it's what it's called a dual use research of concern. So we're funding it, we're bigging it up, and it's brilliant. Everyone's putting all their best minds to it. And the reality is that there's dual use. There's all those fundings are from people, from corporate incentives and from military objectives, but the front is always health or of benefit to society. So the risk is that we're just naive about what is happening and why it's happening. There is very, very close down the line an amendment being made to the World Health Organization by them, suggested by them, and to be implemented by them, that they make the decisions from here on in about what is released where, what is implemented, what health measures, what vaccines in particular. And all these things are written down. It's not an illusion. We've got a certain amount of months before that's ratified. And what will actually have happened in reality is we'll have given up our choices. We'll have given up our choices to decide, no, we don't want that in Bali, or no, we actually need somebody to answer for why there's so many need to be released when a gene drive can happen in a matter of weeks. Before, it has to happen before, and we have to look at the World Health Organization, because if we don't make that choice now, they're going to be making all those choices. They could release anything they want on us for whatever reason. And the great thing about dual use research of concern is that it's all protected. It's protected for biosafety reasons. You know, it might be a danger. It could get into the hands of a bad actor, they say, or patenting. You know, it's a very useful thing. Even the Wolbachia has an IP, an intellectual property to it that is being used by the World Mosquito program. So I think it is important, those things, not to be naive, that it's all for our health. There's a lot of money involved. It has been misused before. There isn't any precedent. And we can use all sorts of things to stop it. The moratorium for a lot of different reasons, and also the Our House Convention, which says that is a legal instrument that we can use. Basically, it grants the public rights regarding access to information, participation, access to justice, you know, in terms of the environment and in terms of everything. And it's also going to give a huge amount of control over what happens here. What if it does go wrong, and then there's a new decision that we have to take some other measure? So there was the other real red alert, and I will stop talking after this, is that they said, oh, it's economical in comparison to a vaccine. So they're passing this idea that we've got two choices, vaccine or vector. And that's not the case at all. Neither of those are particularly useful in these situations, but they're all big money-making situations. And also, I believe that this funding, and there's evidence to prove this as well, because 2003, just the year before Jojo Carter got funding to start, there was a lot of funding, and there was a plan. Well, there was a lot of plans that the Bill Gates Foundation put out. They called them Global Challenges to Health. But there's a lot of money being put into this, hundreds of billions, and in Bali money. And the situation is that sorry, the situation is that when that much money is involved, it can hardly be called economical. The only way it's economical is in military terms, where they say on more than one document that the most economical weapon is a bioweapon, because it only costs something like $1 per kilometer, whereas every other sort of control mechanism, weaponization, involves a lot more money. So that's the only sense it's economical. It's a lot of money. And I also believe, which is really tragic and kind of hurtful and very difficult to deal with, and I think, Richard, you've dealt with it brilliantly, is that everybody has put their absolute amazing genius into creating this thing, but what they've also created at the same time, unfortunately, is some sort of manufactured consent by the whole of Indonesia to accept these things, whatever they might lead to.
Brilliant, brilliant, thank you. So I can summarize a little bit. So first from Dr. Cho, that he would like a tight scientific-based research or scientific-based proof that the effect of this mosquito bite to human, negative or positive. This is he wants. Maybe Pak Warsito answer this. And second, what Francis say that this is brilliant what Indonesian scientists did, but also don't forget that there is we are not alone. There is another behind, another power that don't want to see Indonesia grow. As you can see, Indonesia in 2050 will become a superpower, and we have to be careful that the competitor will do anything to make us down. So I think this is a good warning that you gave to us, Francis. So we have to be careful about this. Pak Warsito, before you go to with that two situation or two question, I will go to Dr. Kun. Dr. Kun, you have any? My line is not so good, Dr. Kun. If it's bad, you can continue as a host, Pak Kun.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Prof, for giving me an opportunity to ask questions. I'm interested in the IP technology because my background is in the artificial intelligence. Yeah, I heard that there is a claim regarding the use of Wolbachia mosquitoes, which employ and use the IP technology. It means that it has a full access to the digital equipments. So my interest lies in understanding the mechanics of this IP technology and how to ensure that its capabilities are safeguarded against any potential misuse for purposes other than their intended use. Yeah. So maybe Francis, if you have any experience in this, maybe you can share with us. Thank you.
Okay, moment. We give to Pak Warsito first because there was too many. Pak Warsito, go ahead, atau Pak Agus, barangkali Ibu Lulus, silakan dari kawan-kawan UGM.
Yeah, I think it's what you call that. Release in Jakarta actually not new. So we started actually in 2014. So it's almost 8 years. So I think this is also the best field as well. If anyone to look, to see and then to assess what is actually happen here, especially from the ecosystem. I think it's I don't have any evidence to what you call it, to mention about the right now. But we also regularly assess about what is actually the impact of the release of the Wolbachia on the environment, like checking is there any possibility of the Wolbachia to transmit it to other insect, and then until now we got evidence as well, and we also already published it as well, and that there is no evidence about it. So I think it's as what Adi Uttarani mentioned about talking about the science. I think it's all on the comment, all of the research, all of the something that we done in Jakarta is already published it clearly. So you can check it first, and then and then we can discuss it about it. So I mean, so far what we got it from Jakarta is actually quite interesting. That again, that started from the very small area, tested about the risk, tested about the what kind of possibility, the positive thing of the possibility of the technology, and then growing of the release for the what kind of expanding a bit the release, and then now it's already about, because already three districts in the city of Yogyakarta, in Sleman and Bantul. This total is about 300 kilometers square that already protected from the Wolbachia. And then in Yogyakarta, except it's what I said. That Wolbachia already reaches 77%, and then the study already continue right now to assess how much is actually until after 4-5 years establishment. And then in Sleman and Bantul, another district around in Yogyakarta, already released in 2019 or 2020. And then what we got from the health center, that dengue is reduced significantly. But we don't. I mean, like what Adi Uttarani said, that we talk on the publication. And then the latest publication will be soon, published. So this is the result of the long assessment of the impact of the Wolbachia on the dengue case.
Yes, but how is the impact to the human being?
The human being actually, right until now, actually the in the laboratory when we doing the reading, we still doing the human blood feeding. It's just easy actually to withdraw the blood. The last is actually we done in the 2000, I think I forgot the year, but again that we checked it regularly, especially for the people who feed the mosquito, and then so far no impact on it.
If I may know, what is the population that have been checked the blood?
I need to check it data first. I'm not sure, but the publish is actually, and that's the thing that we shared. But again, that this is still open. Everyone can can do it, and then you can you just come and then withdraw the blood and then test it, and then after that. So the protocol, our standard protocol is already published and anywhere, and then just we invite the scientists.
If you have the data, Pak, maybe you can put in the chat there.
I already said it on the link, but I can say it another. I tried to find it, but not find yet.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I received already from the Pak Budi, the Minister of Health, all the plan and so on. Yeah, there are 150 pages of that divided by 5 PowerPoint presentation, but I don't see any evidence about the effect of this mosquito bite to the human being. So it is relevant to the questions of Dr. Cho. So that I will be happy. And Francis, about the question from Dr. Kun about the IT to monitor this, do you have any comment, Francis?
Well, the thing I was disturbed about was because I spotted it looking at the scaling up of the mosquito production. And they said the only legal challenge they thought they might face, or legal issue they thought they might face, was the use of this Wolbachia bacteria, which he mentioned. So the thing is that they're not anticipating any other legal issue as a result of this. So they're not planning for that. But also that's quite interesting because I'm not sure that you can call it your intellectual property if you just, if it's something that is completely natural. So I was looking forward to a little bit of insight about how that Wolbachia was isolated, because that would seem to have to be quite a small operation, which could be related to genetic engineering, or at least take place in a lab which uses these micro injections or these extrapolation techniques. But more importantly, I was aware when I was looking through the criteria for a bioweapon and looking through the risks of genetic engineering, and I know that it's not genetic engineering, but still the two mechanisms by which you can bring a new trait into a species, one is through bombarding it through the new engineering technologies, but the other is to smuggle in a bacteria. And that makes Wolbachia and that IP a cause for concern. I mean, maybe actually there is access to it and we can see absolutely that there was nothing added before that patent was put on it. But if there's any question at all, I mean, it's going to be very difficult to say, and it's going to be very difficult to get that information from anybody. And they're going to say it's completely natural, which it is as far as everybody knows. But if there is any other objective, and the other objectives that could be a part of it, because in that list of global challenges, they wanted to try and build I can't find the list now, but there was a list of these global challenges. A lot of them were monitoring global health, monitoring health at point of care. And so there is going to be a push to have some sort of monitoring system. And I wonder if it could be transmitted through the mosquitoes in some sense. So I don't want there to be a monitoring system with misuse that can be misused. But at the same time, I'd like to hear more about how it can be monitored and how we can find out if we can get behind that intellectual property boundary to make sure nothing was smuggled in.
Okay, so Pak Warsito, this response from Francis is related to the question of Pak Kun about the IT and about the monitoring system. Is there any monitoring system when you do that because you have data that reducing 70%, right? So you do have a monitoring system, Dr. Warsito. Can you share with us?
Yeah, we work with a health center, and then we put the nurse there. And then the nurse actually day to day catch the patient with a dengue system, and then we throw the blood, and then check it with PCR. Is the sample of the blood is actually positive for the dengue or not?
What she means, I think, is not really like that. What she means when the egg was releasing. And if it is near water and so on, what's the impact to not only to the patient, but also to the plants, it's like that, Francis? This is what you mean?
Yeah.
Monitoring system in that sense, but
yeah, sorry about it. So, I mean, it's clear that Wolbachia is facultative obligate that's only can live in the live cell. So we check it on the paper that I sent it as well. We are check it of the Wolbachia on another species of the Aedes aegypti, and then this is totally that on the QLEC one, and then there is no Wolbachia strain that we put it on the Aedes aegypti transmitted to the QLEC one, and then we also monitor the population, the fluctuation of the population of the Aedes aegypti, and then I have the paper as well. I will send it later. And
so that's the monitoring system,
yes, this is the model. We have the kind of the trap that's the distance of the trap is actually 250, and then we weekly actually we collect the mosquito, including mosquito, different species of the mosquito, and then we check it Wolbachia on the Aedes aegypti, which is our target, and sometimes we also check it the Wolbachia on the other species. And also we look at the fluctuation of the population, and then we got a paper about it.
Thank you. I would like to go to foreigners that live in Bali. To Margaret, I want to ask to Margaret, when you hear about this, what is your reaction? What is your comment? Margaret, can you give some of your thought? Margaret Dedmeet, your microphone.
Tough to speak.
Can
you hear me? Can you hear me? Tough to speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, brilliant.
Aha, we're here. Okay.
Yes,
so what I'd love to find out is, I think you've been working on this for about 20 years now. And you say you've got a 77% reduction. Why don't you have 100% reduction? That's one question. Two, I believe there's 20 types of mosquitoes in Bali. Will all of them be affected by Wolbachia? Well, some of them. Also, I am an O blood type, and there's 39% of people in Indonesia with O blood type. We are the ones that are bitten a lot by mosquito because we have no antigen in the blood. The AB and A and Bs don't get bitten as much as we do. I am worried about 200 million mosquitoes coming into Bali. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, Mosquito is in the scope of the research. It's not for the what you call implementing. It's just the researcher. But maybe Mosquito, you can explain if you have the knowledge of that, Mosquito.
Yeah, I think it's what you call it. Another species of the mosquito has the Wolbachia naturally, like a QLAG, even the albopictus, the Aedes albopictus is the not main factor in the what you call that on the dengue. So why not 100%? Because again that you know Wolbachia is usually still some what you call it that having what you call it, we only work on one species of the what you call factor Aedes aegypti, but still have another factor albopictus. And also what you call in some area that we researched here is actually when we test, when we monitor of the, we still monitor right now because we monitor what you call the case that the conclusion from the 70% actually come up from the 2 years after the implementation. So still what you can, when the Wolbachia is reached 80 to 90%. So when Wolbachia increase the frequency, probably the impact will be higher than what we concluded that. But the study is still continue. Right now is still, the monitoring of the cases still continue. So we still wait for one dengue cycle. So probably on January or February, and then after that the data will become up, and then the publication will be soon, come to on the paper.
Yeah, actually, honestly speaking, whether it is 77% or 100% success ratio, actually the worriness is not that. The worriness is still about the impact to the human health if this mosquito bite. That's actually the issue.
Yeah, I think it's the
and
paper.
this is what we have to tackle this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, country panic.
Yeah, I agree about it. This is actually in the things in the issue at the first time we released in Yogyakarta as well in 2012, in 2013 and 14, and then we educate with the community that we release the same mosquito with what on the natural habitat. And then the mosquito actually feeded by human. It's also this to show that there is no impact of the Wolbachia on the human, because totally in that the Wolbachia cannot live in the other arthropod cell, including the human one. But also that's why the study actually come up. We draw the blood from the community in that the area where the Wolbachia established. And then also for the the laboratory that we feed it daily with the mosquito, and then it's I already put it on the link, and then this is clear that there is no antibody in that caused by the Wolbachia. So mostly it's actually talk about the paper, but if you want to check actually, because it's already about 8 to 9 years, we firstly release, and then you can come to Yogyakarta and you can learn from us, and then you can discuss with the community, and then if you want to check the blood from the community, it's really open for you to come and then to ask them. Get it?
Yeah, sorry, sure, this will be not our first meeting. We'll have in contact with you.
Because research usually has limitation. And then the risk we are on the target. For example, in the first 3 years we talk about risk assessment, that is clear, and then we compile a lot of evidence how actually we want to communicate with the community, and then after community know and then agree, and then we start with a bigger release, and then no, actually the research in Yogyakarta already finished. we don't do any release in Yogyakarta because it's already in the 3 sub-district which is contribute the highest dengue case in Yogyakarta. So Yogyakarta has a 5 sub-district and we already did from the 3, and then 2 because the dengue is quite low. So the reason that's still continuing actually to see the long time impact of the dengue on the dengue reduction.
Okay, thank you, Pak Warsito. Ole, any comments, Ole?
On mute.
Ole?
On mute.
Yeah. I would say that I think it's extremely important not to just look at Indonesia in this case and to just stare at Bali or where we're staying. There is a global agenda going on that I think everybody have noticed. It goes under the name of Agenda 21, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, where we have extreme powers that are trying to focus and concentrate the power to fewer and fewer and fewer. And as part of this agenda, they're very open about it. There are many different ways of controlling populations in different countries through many different measures. And one thing that I've noticed in many different areas are a combination of tactics. And one of them is this release of mosquitoes. This is not just in Indonesia. It is in Australia, California, Florida, Burkina Faso, other areas as well, where they're releasing enormous amounts of these modified, in whatever way, mosquitoes, where I feel strongly that Mother Nature, you can't say that after 3 years nothing happened, like in that case, fine. Because I mean, like with radiation or whatever, you don't see a cancer after 1, 2, 3 years, but it comes like maybe after 5, 10, 15 years. And here we are, where the release here on Bali might affect the ecosystem in a way that we have absolutely no way of controlling, and that could be irreversible to bring back. So I think just because papers are published, what does that even mean? There's thousands and millions of papers being published everywhere in the world that afterwards have backfired and just like what happened? Well, we're sorry we didn't do it enough. We had no idea that this would happen. But once they're out there, you can't call them back. So I am extremely, extremely concerned. Also, when you start seeing the results of these releases in other areas where people are really starting to suffer from it. And I would also say it could possibly be connected with the agenda of smart cities, where there's this thing almost weaponizing nature to keep us out of it. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. So I am absolutely not relieved or I feel relaxed in any way or form by the answers we got tonight. And that's my take.
Yes, here is free thinkers. Yeah, you can say whatever we say, and this is sure will be response or there is a feedback from the government. And I have actually a thing that I want to say later, but I want to go to Toby Damergat. Torben?
Hello, thank you.
Yeah, hi,
thank
Torben.
you. Hello. I want to say hello to my brother, of course, first of all, and hello to all of you others. I have heard so many things, but there's one thing I have not heard till now, and that is the fact that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has millions and millions in developing GMO mosquitoes. And if people are not aware of what Bill and Melinda Gates have done in the rest of the world, not least in India, with thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands of crippled young girls because of vaccines. And just like you're talking now, there is one very similar thing, which is that no one has ever regretted not taking the vaccine. And you are now in a situation where you can be not regretting not releasing it. But I have, of course, questions because I thought that the meeting was about overview Bill and Melinda Gates, GMO mosquitoes in Bali. I thought that was the subject. I have only heard about blood groups and this and that and statistics. I mean, in the way I see it, you are 100% under attack, and you are one more paradise island. Recently, other weapons have been used against Hawaii. But what I'm thinking is, you were asking for people's opinions of people, foreigners living in Bali. I'm not living in Bali, but I am a foreigner, and I have the person I love the most on the planet living with you in Bali, with his wife and daughter. This has very great significance for me, very great. And I don't understand that you are not out there just blocking this. I fear scientists sometimes because you are so focused on facts and papers and studies. It's like you're asking what is the powder content in the guns, not about who is behind the gun and what is the purpose. And I have been studying, just like my brother, for decades, the global agenda, what is going on. And I suppose that many of you guys on board, you have studied many other things and you have become specialists. I reckon my brother as a specialist in this subject. And this is about the harm that is intended against humanity, the war that has been directed against humanity for decades, from the has to against the has-nots. So I just wanted to share that please do not be blind looking at the trees in the forest. There is totally, like my brother said, there is a very, very serious agenda directed towards humanity, and you apparently are right now in the scope. Thank you so much for the word. Thank you.
Thank you, Torben. Thank you very much. Very touchy what you say. So, Pak Warsito and kawan-kawan lain di Indonesia, people, I'm a scientist, and we as a scientist, we only talk from the data, what we see, and what we can do with the data. But many times as a scientist, we forgot that there is a agenda maybe behind us that we cannot see, we don't see. And your message is you want us to see that other threat, yeah. Because if we make mistake, we mistake about this, there is no point of return. Kira-kira gitu Pak Warsito pesannya. Jadi dari sisi
Terima kasih Pak.
Ya science, tapi dari sisi memang bukan bidangnya Pak Warsito ya, tapi kita harus perhatikan itu Pak.
Ya.
Kita harus perhatikan itu. Nah, myself have a questions Pak. Usually in the research, we go in vitro, yeah. We go in vitro, like for example, during coronavirus, when we make a research, actually I discovered something that can help with the coronavirus in 3 days, but I have to do in vitro, and when I do in vivo, I have to do with animals, not to the human being. Now, this mosquito, I think you do the vitro in the lab, but then if you release that in the population, it is in vivo, and you have to go to phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. My question is, did you follow that agenda? Even I know that you follow the guideline of WHO, the VCAG, but do you have to do that step of in vitro, in vivo, step 1, phase 2, phase 3, clinical trial? Because we cannot predict this, Pak. Gimana, Pak?
Yeah, we follow this kind of the research, protocol. So the first, we are on the first phase 1, talking about in the laboratory. So we increasing the capacity. So we also preparing the community, Also, we were dealing with regulation, and then the most important actually talking with risk assessment. And the second is actually the phase 2 we did in the small scale of the release. So we released in the very isolated 4 hamlet, and then we check it carefully what happened in there, including the community perspective. And then after that, we release in the slightly bigger. So in Yogyakarta, we divided in the 2 area, and we release in the 7 kelurahan. And then this is in the quasi study. So we comparing between one area with the Wolbachia and then another area with the control. But then we are doing like a clinical, clinical study. We call this the randomized control trial, which is in the city of Yogyakarta. So it's really trigger. This is monitored by the independent of the panel, and that a lot of actually the people involved in this kind of the study. So the until now is actually in the study already. So we followed from the very small in the laboratory in vitro to the bigger. This is 12 years. So this is 12 years research that we done in Yogyakarta.
Okay, thank you. The situation is like this, but I know you did this before the coronavirus, right? So you do that. But we realized during the coronavirus, there is an obligation that people have to be vaccinated. And after that, we see, after 2 years later, we see the side effect. In the time, the government, many governments say it's obligation. For example, like my family live in Italy, my wife works there, and my children go there. They cannot go to school if they are not vaccinated. It's an obligation. But 2 years later, the government or the government of Canada and so on, they ask apology because there is a lot of side effect about that. So maybe your research is good with genuine intention, but the atmosphere in the time, the people have trust issue, this kind of thing. I hope our program is not sabotage. And I know it's not the capacity of Pak Warsito to answer this because he's the scientist, but it is our to the. But we are lucky because in this program, the Minister of Health itself monitoring this, and also we have the special staff from the president. So it's become must be a political decision. It's not an issue of scientific decision. But the situation that all over the world, people have distrust about this because it is another kind of like a vaccination, in another way. More or less, I see like that. Am I wrong, Ole? Ole?
I don't know if I'm the right person to answer that, but I've seen many times, just like you said here, where science says that it's completely safe. We were told, like with the vaccinations, the corona vaccinations, it was completely safe. There were no risk whatsoever. The risk was if you didn't take it. Now you can go, there are websites with gathering tens and thousands of people with this very severe injuries, death, all kinds of things from these vaccines that was told that they were safe. And so science changed from time to time. If you go back only 20, 30 years, what did science say then about stuff that we are now being told, no, it's bad for you? They used to say, no, it's good for you. So I'm not saying that the scientists here are doing something on purpose. I'm saying they could very well be manipulated from a bigger agenda where something a lot bigger is going on here. And this is where I specialize, is I don't look at one specific area. I look on the world as such. And I've seen this being played out in many different places. It's called that it's against the avian flu. It's called it's against the malaria. It's the dengue. It's the swine flu. It's the same setup. And what is going on is not good news in certain areas. And one of the latest ones was in March on Maui, the island of Maui, that just very similar to Bali, but now are looking at an extreme brutal faith. They had a release there of exactly the same. I think it was 10 million in March. They're going to release them every 2 weeks, which is also, as far as I understand, what is being planned for here on Bali. And the project there is to save some rare bird species, but the plan is to continue for 20 years. And it comes from the same regulations as Indonesia is following, as far as I know. So from the World Health Organization and so on. So it's like, what is being pushed here? 20 years of, I don't even know how many millions per year that is going to be released to save 1 or 2 rare bird species. When you look at implications on the ecosystem, that, I mean, like here we hear that, yes, you check the blood of people and the dengue and so on. Have you checked all the birds that eat the mosquitoes that have been released? Was there any problems with the birds, the foxes or other animals that ate birds? Any problems there? Was there any problems with the egg development in the different bird species? Have you checked all the different species there? Has that, when they die, has it in any way affected the fungus in the forest or in the jungle? Is there any problems with the trees? I mean, you're playing around with the bio ecosystem. That is not to be played with at all. Every time human beings have been trying to play God and say we can do it better than God, it's messed up and it backfires in a really, really ugly way, And I think that 77% or so of a good result, great, but does that justify the release of millions and millions? As far as I've been informed, I don't know if it's correct, that there's going to be this release in just a little more than a month here on Bali in 44 different villages. I don't know if it's 24 or 44. I've heard different things. And it's going to be released in Denpasar, in the north, in the south, in the east, and in the west. Do you think that sounds like everything is like, wouldn't you like to have like a 100% security if you do a release on that scale? Because what about 30, 77? It sounds good. It's 2 out of 3. So what about the last third? What happened there? And with that amount of release, what is that even? How will it affect just the amount of mosquitoes? I don't know if they carry a bacteria, they don't carry a bacteria. How will that look at Australia, where different species have been released in the shape of frogs or whatever, and suddenly there are millions of frogs in there, or foxes, or whatever, or special plants that have been. There's a reason why at the customs in many different countries they do not let in biomaterial. They do not let you take seeds. They don't let you take animals easily transported across borders. There's a reason for that. Here we have flying things that we don't know where they're going to go, how they're going to. We have no idea. Thank you, Mr. Scientist. Do I trust you? I trust your intention. Do I trust that the outcome of this thing will be good? Absolutely not. I am terrified in looking at what can happen if this goes forward. I mean, absolute disaster. And then you can bring forward all of your papers saying, well, we published this one, we published that one. Well, there you go. Tell all of the victims, tell all of these things in nature that, well, this paper shows you that that's not going to happen. Well, it just did. What are you going to do then? Let me know. If this backfires, please let me know that you got a backup plan saying, okay, if we have any problems, we will just withdraw all of the mosquitoes. We will recall them saying, come back to base, return home, and we'll take care of you. Can you do that? If not, this is madness, absolute pure madness. And no disrespect to scientists, but look at what science have done in the shape of development of weapons and bombs and many, many things that have been created. People are talking about the Nobel Prize as it's something really prestigious. It is, but where does the money come from? It comes from Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite. And from this thing that have then been developed into weapons in so many different ways, the profits from that has then been turned into this prize that has then been given to many different areas. If you ask me, it's blood money. And so are we supposed to worship these forces that are putting these things forward? The Bill and Melinda Gates, are they completely clean? Have they got a completely clean record behind them? If you look, they are being tracked down now by the Corona Investigative Committee. Like it's more than 100. I don't know if Rainer Fulmich is here with us tonight, but he's the head of that. 100 different international lawyers. He took on Deutsche Bank, one of them. He has been really taking. They're going to court. Many are trying to take them to court for so many different crimes. And here we have him even having been visiting Bali just a few weeks ago, as far as I know, been part of donating these things into this project. Also, this Ossitec company in the UK that is highly controversial, where it just has backfired in different areas. And here, well, let's just release them, and it's just 10 million. Do you know how many that is? Do you know how many mosquitoes it takes to keep you awake at night? 1. Okay, so I'll just count for 10 million. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's quite a lot bit. 8, 9, 10, 11, until I get to 10 million. And that's just in one release. Then you have another one 2 weeks later, without checking how did it go, and then another one, and 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 another one. And we're not even in December, and they're going to keep releasing them until March, April. I mean, ask me, pure madness, absolute madness. No disrespect, but pure madness. And I beg of you, please, just because you have a high IQ in one area doesn't mean that you are aware of the whole spectrum. And many times we can be played by big interests, big corporations, big money. We're talking big money here, and big military interest as well. This is such an incredibly beautiful island, such an incredibly beautiful nation. I mean, Indonesia is unique. And here we let a handful of people decide, are we going to destroy it? Maybe. Can you give me 100% proof that, yeah, not a problem? If this backfires in any little shade or form or whatever, we are on top of it. We can just fix that. Not a problem at all. Give me that one, sign it personally with your signature on it so that you can be held personally responsible for doing it. I'm on. Until then, oh my God, wake up to the level of madness that is going on here. Once again, no disrespect, most individuals believe that they're doing the right thing, but in many of these operations are played on a completely compartmentalized system where every single one only knows their part. They don't understand the bigger picture. That is the way these operations are carried out. And to me, I've been down this rabbit hole for 43 odd years, tracking down assassins and black ops and I don't know what over all of this in the whole world. And I've even stopped many planned terror attacks and stuff because I've seen the modus operandi, how they carry them out. This is why I am one of the major ones who's called this together, because I'm seeing the exact same setup. Oh my God, here they go again, but this time in the form of mosquitoes. It has been released in so many different ways. Now it comes to mosquitoes, and it's not just only here. There's this simultaneous release in many different places at the same time. Is that a coincidence? I ask, please, Indonesia, take a deep breath, step back, wait a year. I mean, it's not that people are dying in the millions of dengue here. And by the way, the dengue fever, if you check out the CIA archives, it's a CIA operation. It's a bioweapon that was released during the Vietnam War. There's papers proving that as well. You can read these papers. So that disease on its own, people in the thousands falling over, dying here daily? No. So is this a big enough problem to come with a solution of that scale? Since this is being released in so many different areas of the world, why not take a step back, saying, let's just see how it goes over there. Let's just wait and see how it goes over there. If it backfires over there, oh my God, thank God we didn't make a mistake. why release all of it at the same time? And if you check out, dear Mr. Bill and Melinda Gates, who they are, the World Health Organization, who's funding them, these are not like people voted people in. These are big financial interests that have put themselves on the throne and deciding life or death for the rest of us. Check out in the other areas of the world who's behind these releases. It's the exact same forces. My God, what a coincidence. Could there be a connection? I would suggest very possibly yes. Yes and yes. Stop this madness. Stop it. That's the only, and then continue checking these things for the next 45 years. Once you get up to 100% and you can say, yep, we know it, and any problem, we can just recall them. I'm sure you can make them remotely controlled. Call them back home, self-destruct, whatever, so that you are on top of it. Here, I have not heard one word that makes me feel any calmer. On the contrary. So no disrespect once again, but that's my take.
So you just say maybe you are not the right person to ask. So just for people who do not know Ole, Ole is an expert in this kind of things. He's been shot, he's been crucified because he opening this kind of, he's a gladiator in our forum because he exposed this kind of thing from the killing of John Kennedy. And by the way, he got a Peace Award from Czechoslovakia, if I'm not mistaken, because of job. He's risking his life because of this. Yeah, he's only want a peace. His heart is full of peace. And sometimes what he said we don't believe, but it's happened. So I think we are so lucky having Ole. Ole is not special. He's special. He's been through all the shit, and he jeopardizing his life for what he believed for, I don't know, 25, 30 years doing this, like a fugitive.
Also, I've been interviewed more than 1,100 times. You can put that to your papers.
Sorry?
And I've been interviewed on international media more than 1,100 times. That is also kind of papers being published, but in audio, whatever, where I go through many of these operations step by step by step. I'm in contact with people from the inside who have been part of these type of operations for many years. That's how I learned a lot about these things. I can, ask them to step forward. Not a problem. If the Indonesian government can just take a break, pull the handbrake just for a little while, and we'll have a closer look to this instead of going forward with this. What is the stress? What is the stress of releasing them here in November? Wait another 6 months. We can gather a lot more information, and then a more balanced decision can be taken, maybe.
I think the Indonesian government is very accommodative. Yeah, if there is a concern like this, we are not a dictatorship government, and I know the Minister of Health is very open-minded. So when we can give a good argument, good reason, and so on, he will reconsider that. And by the way, he was a banker, and bankers always think about risk management. Also, and for him to send the scientists here, he showed that he want to hear input from us. Yeah, input from us. My job is only as a moderator here. But I would like to hear all your concern or your opinion. So ensure that this program will be watched by the recording will be watched by the minister himself, the Minister of Planning Board. Here there is a special staff of the president. You will hear also. There is also the intelligence of Indonesia here. There are 3 people I know. Don't worry about that. And they will see this from the security point of view. Your input will be so valuable for the intelligence, will be so valuable. So I think this discussion we do with a good purpose. It's not to pointing our finger and so on, but for a good purpose, for the benefit of Indonesia and for everyone. Dammegård, the other Dammegård, Torben, you raise your hand. Your microphone, Your microphone, Torben. Your microphone, yeah.
Yeah, I think am I on now?
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to say that, of course, I agree with everything that my brother just said and shared. But I would like to add to it also, because if you're going to talk to government, what is most important to government is, of course, always money. And I would like to direct myself to the two gentlemen. You are one of them, the coordinator, and then there is one more scientist who was talking earlier. And he was saying that, of course, all life in Indonesia has the same value, not only Bali. But I'm saying that I would say that due to the work of others who for decades have exposed this agenda, including the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and all the damage they have done, and their underlying purpose, all the way from being part of Planned Parenthood and all this genocidal agenda for decades ago. I would like to share that because of all the awakening that has been spread all the way from the swine flu, now via the COVID-19 and so on, I think Bali is taking a great risk if they do this, because the only thing that people will remember is Bill Gates, GMO, mosquitoes, and Bali. I think you risk killing your tourism, because word to word, not only from the people, the foreigners, many awake people, including my own brother and his wife, have chosen Bali, and they have an enormous network globally. So this information will spread like wildfire on the planet. And people only need to hear gene-modified mosquitoes coming from Bill and Melinda Gates, overflowing Bali, and you can say, kiss goodbye to your tourism. And maybe even to the people who have chosen to live on the island. I cannot talk for my brother. But I'm saying that because who would like to risk staying with all the awareness for that a man like my brother has? Will he stay? He has already left Spain for Bali. And now he's going from the frying pan into the fire. I think you should take this very seriously. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Torben. By the way, Dr. Warsito just explained that the research funded by Tahia Foundation, by George Tahia, I know personally him, but what is interesting to see that the research around $6 million, yeah, if not mistaken, Pak Warsito, yeah. But Pak Warsito, can you, after you heard all the concern, is it true that Bill Gates come to Yogyakarta to see the research?
Yeah, at early 2014 or 2017. Yeah, but
so did you invite him or how?
He come by himself. So we didn't invite because this research in Yogyakarta is quite, not funded, totally not funded by the PMKF, but totally funded by the Yayasan Tahia.
Yeah. So what's the reason he came to Yogyakarta?
Yeah,
because you invite him.
Yeah, I don't have any idea why, because I didn't ask as well. So we mostly, but we talk about the science, we talk about what actually in the progression in Yogyakarta, what is actually in the step of the research, etc., etc. We discussed a lot of what is actually in the science talk, but not talking about what actually behind of it or something.
What year did he come to Yogyakarta?
Pardon?
What year did he come to Yogyakarta?
2014, if I am not wrong.
Oh, that's long before the COVID. Yeah, I know who else celebrities who come there beside Bill Gates.
Yeah, but a lot of people actually coming to to Yogyakarta. It's not only from a lot of political, a lot of science, but most is actually science from around the world to learn about what actually we are doing.
Yes, what I want to try to say, what Torben say, we cannot take it lightly, because if you see that WHO or CDI, the funder, it should be from several countries and has to be equal share. But your suspicion is justified because 88% of the fund from WHO is from Bill Gates. So if you see somebody already want to finance that 88%, so either he's very altruist or he has an agenda. I think for the intelligent people that is here, I think.
But Richard, I mean, you know, I think it's me and colleagues here sitting here is actually talking about the science.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. That is what
mean, you know, I'm really far from.
No, Pavarsito.
Sorry about it.
Pavarsito, you are not alone here. We are also have intelligence here, Pak. Yeah. So I say that this is not the authority of Pavarsito, because we want to hear the science point of view, but we also want to see from because this is a multi-part that there is people from intelligence, the people from planning, the people from health, there's a scientist. I invite everyone here, not to pointing a finger to you, Pavarsito, so don't think that like that. But when I say,
it's really happy to be here.
yeah. So we have people also from BIN, Pak, here. So actually this input is for them, not for you, Pak. So I think that's fair enough. I think I bring the program is fair, not pointing my finger to anyone. Yeah, I just want to be the best result. Okay, we have somebody that lived quite long here in Bali. Mari Morin, you have any comment, Mari?
Sorry, Richard, I have to go.
Okay, Pavarsito, thank you very much.
Any information, just text me, just email me, you know.
Yeah, I will, Pak. Thanks a lot, yeah, Pak. Yeah, thank you a lot.
And I have a link to WMP as well. If
yes, I have this.
To connect to the WMP, I think it's better to talk to them as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Warsito. Keep in touch, ya, Pak.
Yeah, happy to have a touch with you all.
Take care, Pak.
Thank you very much.
Pak Asik masih ada ya, Pak Asik Surya. Okay, Marin, you have any comments if you like?
Ya, Pak. Can you hear me, Pak?
Ya, Pak Asik, gimana?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Pak. I think we are stuck on what we have already talked with Pak Warsito and also with the Professor Uut. I think the program is just based on the data, but I know we realize that some approach maybe it's usually like in Bali, something like that. But I think it's not just only about for the technology. I think, but I think it's just only for how we are approaching for the community. I think this is really appreciate for this the issue, Pak. But of course, we are cannot developing many issue, presumption, and some assumption, something like that. But I think we cannot talk for long time just on. Yeah, of course I know for the issue, but it's like issue the political will. Political issue, maybe just like the conspiration, whatever, something like that. But for the program, me as the implementer, especially because we are see from the Professor Mosquito and others that this really is approved for the program, and then we are trying to put it. And of course, we are, applying for the program in local government, and then after that, we are trying to, of course, like the how we are dealing with the community acceptance, something like that. Of course, there are somebody that still not really understand, and maybe something like that. But of course, this is we hope that this is our assignment, the for how we
understand the message, Pak. Understand.
Yeah, Pak. I think that's all for the government. But if we are talking a lot about something like that, but I think we cannot finish because we have already take a long time. You in your proposition for 10 and 30, right? Sorry.
Yes. I understand that your research already finished, right? Your thesis is done.
Yeah.
And now it's about the implementation, no?
Yeah.
We talk about the implementation, all the people will accept of that from the security. So we see from all of aspects. Marin, Marin, Pak Chok.
Yeah. Thank you,
community leader.
I think we are.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Asik. Keep in touch, Pak Asik. Keep in touch.
Thank you, Pak. Bye, Pak.
Thank you. Chok, you have anything to say as a community leader?
Firstly, Pak Johannes Angka Wijaya has put his hand up several times. I'm not sure if he wants to say something important.
No, later, with him later. I know him very well.
All right. Yeah,
He's a biologist.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I can't talk as a community leader really. I mean, I'll just talk as rakyat kecil aja ya.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a taxpayer.
Okay.
Maybe we can if they're very convinced about the safety of this. I think there's a bigger mosquito and dengue fever problem in Jakarta, and maybe we little Balinese would be happy if they could do the trial first in the DPR area.
Yeah, are you serious? Are you
di Kementerian Kesehatan dilepaskan dulu di sana. Yeah. If it's really watertight and it's very much for the safety of us all, it should be of benefit to that. Maybe the people who and again, I don't know enough. We also don't know who are the implementers. We would also probably like to know who is actually behind the funding, and so on and so forth. And again, with all due respect to people who dedicate their lives to the benefit, the healing and the health of others. And I believe a lot of scientists have that motivation. But we would probably be more comfortable if that was the case first.
Yeah, so far the input I say is very positive from every one of you. Thank you, Francis. But I want to hear from Marie Morin. You want to say something? No, your microphone, Marie. You have to, yes.
Okay, I'm on. So I think there's a lot of talk about science and how science has proven the safety of the mosquito release. But there was one incident in the US many years ago where science said thalidomide was safe for mothers to take during pregnancy. And it was a huge epidemic of children being born deformed. So do we always need to believe in science? Science can be subjective. So I think there's got to be, what Chuck was saying about, we need more information. We need to know what the ramifications are on the ecosystem and what's going to happen to the environment. So I don't know. Living in the US, there were a lot of incidences where science was proven wrong. So that's
okay. I know that Dr. Thank you, Marie. I know that Dr. Quinn is going to summarize, and very difficult to summarize that, Dr. Kun, because every time we have Gladiator Forum, you always summarize that, and this time I summarize that. So it's easy job. Johan.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, may I have any comment?
Yeah, sure.
This is quite interesting from testimony of myself. The first is when I received this broadcast from the Mr. Pony, it didn't state any wallback here, and I don't understand what is it. But I don't know what's about my algorithm, the algorithm of my phone that give me a news from the Singapore. We released a special mosquito that I just realized now. They said the wallback here that I feel that interesting. Looks like universe give me a clue that this forum is talking about the Wolbachia bacteria. Well, actually, I have a simple question. How is Wolbachia bacteria to be cultivated? Is on a agar culture or is on the legal culture? Agar. How to be, or must it be cultivated on the body of the mosquito? The question is that, only that. Simple question.
I know.
Yeah, Francis, please respond.
Sorry, it was done through micro injection.
Yeah.
And I didn't find out whether that was in a culture, which sometimes it can be, But it was also said that took thousands of attempts, and the Wolbachia was injected into the sperm of the male mosquito and the ovaries of the female mosquito. And of course, you get this impression of this being a very delicate operation, but it is a totally automated, massively automated scientific factory where this takes place. And then eventually they got a result whereby the mosquitoes survived, and they started they've incorporated the Wolbachia bacteria into their genetic makeup, so they pass it on every single time.
So they culture directly in the mosquito as a host, yeah.
Yes.
Not in the agar or in a liquid culture as usual, yes. Must direct on the host, on the mosquito, yes.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with those things. Maybe somebody else is, but I know that that was injected into the mosquito themselves.
It's okay. Because I searched on the Google during this forum that did not say how they culture. That still, I just wonder. Okay, that's all.
By the way, Johan is a graduate from ITB in biology. We call him the genius boy, he's a genius. The problem, he doesn't realize that he's genius. Pak Yusuf, Pak Yusuf here. Pak Yusuf is my guru. By the way, we can see the point of view as a Sufis.
Okay, thank you, Pak Richard. Well, I'm not a scientist, but an ordinary people, just an ordinary people. I think in this case, I feel that there is a danger in this conversation, that we are here as we name it this Gladiator Bangsa, so that we have to be a gladiator to that danger. So that I agree with what Ole said, and Pak Chok, and also the brother of Ole. It's a real danger for us that we have to face, so that we have to come really, really gladiator Bangsa in this case. This is my comment, Richard.
Yeah, continue. So what you want to say? As a Gladiator Bantor, so what we have to say?
Yeah, we have to protect our Bangsa, our Indonesia, with those agenda of those kind of agenda that now you know that in coronavirus we are relatively successful to handle it, but I think they have the other agenda now with the mosquito, so that we have to be careful with that. Okay, that's all.
So I want Ole to respond. Pak Yusuf. Ole.
I'm trying to get my mic working. Well, I can say I am not calmed down in any way or form, shape after tonight. I feel more worried than ever. I think to release this amount, I mean, like, let's say that I was a single person here who was doing these experiments in my basement, and I had like millions and millions of mosquitoes, and then I suddenly released it. I mean, I would be arrested and accused or whatever, if it was me as a private person, even though I'd had maybe done a lot of research over the years and released papers and so on, still here, has anyone been asked here on Bali, for instance, like, is there anyone, yeah, would you like this or would you like that? No, no one. It's just like we saw it on an Instagram post that we're just going to do this. Has anyone said, yes, it's okay with us? And security-wise, do you know Robin Hood used to, I think they practiced with an apple on the head and they shot an arrow, you know, boom, and hit the apple. I mean, here we're talking about 70%. That's 2 out of 3. So 2 out of 3 times you hit the apple and 1 time you hit the head. I don't think that's good odds, you know. It's not good enough for me. And when we talk about that extreme amount of releases, I mean, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions, it just goes on and on and on during this period from November to March. If you ask me, well, that's another name for pure madness, and without really understanding what are the interests behind it, who's pushing it, who's funding it, and why. Are these individuals that are backing these type of things, are they known as being extremely generous and backing humanity, like Bill Gates Foundation? If you really start looking, he is being chased with thousands of cases where he's being sued in India and so on. They're really, I mean, he is on a list of people that are really, really hated. And here we have the background. Then I know that this local in Jakarta is not funded by them, apparently. He was there in 2014. I find that interesting that already in 2014, he was here checking out mosquitoes that we're now seeing being released in so many different areas of the world. But I was also informed that he was here in Bali just a few weeks ago, and he was also here at the G20, as far as I know, as well. So he's been here multiple times here lately. And yeah, until there's some kind of safety thing around this whole thing, I would say, looking from an objective point of view, absolute madness to release them without being completely 100%, 100, not 99, but 100% sure that it's going to do good instead of possibly creating a disaster. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ole, because I asked you to give comments about what Pak Yusuf say. So for Pak Yusuf, I just want to tell you that before this program begins, I recite the mission of Gladiator Bangsa, right? You remember, right? The mission of Gladiator Bangsa is to cultivate future leaders. So the message of Pak Yusuf, actually, this is the forum to see who is the future leaders here in our nations. And we have a lot of foreigners, it's not Indonesians, that warn us. Yeah? So who is the future leaders that will contribute to the betterment of the nation by learning from meaningful events in the life of others? So you are like Ole, your brother, Mari, Francis. Actually, you are concerned about the life of the others. And I'm thanking you for all of this. As I said before, that in the past, the Gladiator used physical forces to bring about change. Today, to achieve our mission or their vision, Gladiator, we need to exercise courage with integrity. Courage is not enough, but with integrity. So for sure, this program, it will not stop here. We need to have the courage. We have to, especially I talk to the Indonesian future leaders. This is the message of Pak Yusuf. Pak Yusuf, actually the oldest here. He's 82 years old. And he's the one that reminds us that the mission of Gladiator Bangsa. So do we have this courage and integrity? And also I mentioned, given the political environment prevailing worldwide, so don't see from Indonesian point of view, like you mentioned already, seeing the political environment prevailing worldwide, we know this combination of courage with integrity is a rare currency. So this program for me is a rare currency with high quality people talk here, like Francis, Ole and Pak Warsito, Ibu from Gajah Mada, Ibu Trina. Yeah. So this is the challenge actually for us, that we can bring tonight to our Gladiator Bangsa participant, and why we invite the presence of you, a prominent and inspiring individual, yeah, all of you. So thank you to Pak Yusuf that remind us about this. And remember that all the people that I invite here come from all sectors of society. It's not only scientists, all society, as the experience of each of our experience with their own way has relevance to Indonesian future leaders. Don't you think that tonight's program is really fulfill the mission of Gladiator, as Pak Yusuf remind us? Thank you, Pak Yusuf. So I just want to summarize this meeting. Maybe my summary will be not so good as Dr. Kun. But what I can say, actually, there is an issue, a very serious issue, that the government have a good intention to alleviate about the dengue fever. That's one issue. So to do this, they make research, and the scientists, I'm sure that the scientists, with their best intention, with the best brain, they do research and so on. But also we have another issue. Yeah, the other issue is we don't have to forget about the agenda of other people or other country that want to destroy Indonesia. And I think we have to take this in balance. Yeah, we have to take in balance on both sides. And I think also the government of Indonesia will have an open-minded. But I think what we have to do, as Ibu Utarini say, we have to go to the implementer. Yeah, I did do this. I go to the Minister of Health, Minister of Planning, the presidential assistants. But I think it's a time of all of us, especially I make a plea to Pak Cho, yeah, because you are rakyat kecil here. But I think the leader in the Bali should be aware about this. I don't think the parliament, local parliament in Bali is aware of this. So we still have 1 month. So I think we have not much time, and we have to make aware of the people in Bali, the community leader. And I think Pak Chu, with his influence, can help us to do this. Mari also can help us just to educate and then see this, because we love Indonesia. So with that, not so good summary, I'm thanking all of you. This is already 30 minutes more, but for sure it is not the last time we see. But there is exception, because we have guests from far and already raised their hand. Tobin, you want to say something?
Thank you so much. You asked a question about whether this Gladiator meeting has reached its purpose concerning courage and integrity. In that sense, I would like to thank you as the creator. And second, for you, Baba, who is a Sufi leader. Sufism has always been the most courageous spiritual, as far as I'm concerned. They are wild people. I acknowledge you, but I would also like to take this opportunity to thank my brother. The audience need to understand that all the way back from when my brother was part of investigating the possible murder of our prime minister in Sweden, my family, and because I love my brother, we have lived on a daily basis, been worried about when possibly something would happen to my brother, or maybe even, God forbid, his family. Ole's courage and integrity, I think today is unquestioned. And when it comes to my own courage, I need to say, and this is about integrity, so I'm not involving my brother in this. I'm stating my own opinion, and that is that if you have researched for years and decades what is going on planet Earth, there is no doubt that the globalist agenda is in the bottom satanic. And the major goal from Satanists is to mock God. It is to mock God. And I worry about the fact that my brother, together with many other people, have chosen Bali. And my brother recently went to Thailand, a place that many, many people around the world think is paradise. And my brother was laughing, saying that he and his family longed home back to Bali because of the people on Bali, because who you are and how you are. My brother left, well, anyway, my brother is a very intuitive man with a big and soft heart. And he and his wife feels like this about Bali. And this makes me worry a little bit that because this war that is going on right now is not only physical, it is also spiritual. And I think there is a risk that Bali is being targeted because what happens if they release this kind of stress and problem onto your paradise island? You know, people like my brother said, only one mosquito takes to keep you awake at night. I can tell you, it's very hard to meditate if you have a million mosquitoes in the meditation room. So we live in physical bodies, and every yogi, every spiritual person through history has known that you need to be free in the body to release your mind, or at least to make it easy to connect with God, to connect with the divine. That is why people fast, that and so on to get at the minimum of input from the physical reality, so that you can focus on the spiritual. And I'm thinking as I'm talking, but I really think it's I'm telling you, if there is a risk, if you release that monster onto your island, it might damage severely the spirituality of your island and your ability to relax and sit. Just one thing, my brother takes his wife to the beach every morning to see the sun go up. Imagine that with a million score. Anyway, I have made myself clear, and it's already on overtime. Thank you, and God bless you all, and all the best to the people of Bali and the island, and so on. Namaste, namaste.
Namaste, namaste. Okay, officially, I close the program. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for Francis. Francis, thanks a million.
Oh,
Yeah.
Richard, I have one sentence. Can I say it?
Yeah, sure.
I'm so sorry. It was an action plan, actually. And I felt that it's so imminent that perhaps on biosafety grounds, the release could be vetoed, and then build a legal case, and based on all the challenges that were used in California that managed to block it. And thirdly, for the community, if everybody could send a notice, not just a letter, but a notice is also a legal instrument, and copy it to the law. And who that would be sent to is the implementers, just saying the concerns that occur to you that will affect.
Yes, I understand that. I understand that. So Ibu Tarini already mentioned about that because he already made the research. So they say if you want to do that, we go to the implementer. So actually, she's done it. So actually, we're following her recommendation to do that, and the same with you. And it's a great recommendation. So officially, I close this, but unofficially, we open again for normal discussion. But the Gladiator Bangsa, actually, we close. Yeah, Pak Kun. Yeah, we close that. And somebody wanna ask question? Arya is there. Arya, go ahead, Arya. So if anybody wanna leave, just go ahead because
Hey Bob, hi everybody. Yeah. I just look at it very, very simple. You know, in order to see a problem like this, is actually seeing things very simple. One who has power gets to decide what to do. And these people in power, I've mentioned millions of times, They can either have good intention or bad intention. Whatever you want to do, whatever knowledge you have, you cannot beat the person in power. You cannot beat them, right? You look at the vaccine. You look at all this happening. I can talk freely, yeah? Look at what happened in the vaccine. Sure. Many people believe in the vaccine and stuff, right? Look what it did to people, right? So for me, this is just another another cassette, but it's the same song with a different cassette. You know, it's all being planned. It's very simple to see this. Who's behind this? Who's benefiting? It's so simple. So it doesn't need to be dramatized. You can only change it if you have power. Period. If you don't have power to decide, you cannot change whatever they want to decide. If you can build an argument on it, if you can top that argument, I would want to believe it. But if you don't have power,
courage is the power, not courage.
Yes. But if you don't have the power to decide, no matter what knowledge you have, you will never be able to beat these people. Never. There will be never. Look what happened to Bill Gates. Bill Gates can do whatever he wanted, right? Who can stop him? Nobody can stop him. You have to be in the decision power position in order to make those changes. And those people have to have empathy. If you have empathy for other people, you'll make brilliant decisions, not stupefying decisions like what we have now.
Very good input, Arya. Very good.
So I'm not surprised to see this. For me, it's just a new song with a different cassette.
New song with different cassette. You agree with that, Ole?
Yeah, of course. Actually, for me, it's too easy to they're just doing the same old thing.
There is a person here give a very nice comment, and I'm curious. I didn't know him. Pintor Sirait, are you there, Pak Pintor? Pak Pintor Sirait? Yes. Can you give your comments? Because you give a lot of good comments, Pak. Can you introduce yourself? Pak Pintor? Mic-nya, Pak. The mic. Pak Pintor, the mic. Oke, Ibu Kirti. Ibu Kirti? Can you hear me? Ibu Kirti, can you hear me? Okay. Oh, Professor R, last but not least, Professor R. Go ahead, Professor R. Ibu Kirti, silakan Bu Kirti.
The microphone is muted.
Mikrofonnya, Bu. Mikrofonnya, Ibu. Ya.
Oke, clear ya. Oke, sorry. Jadi saya minta maaf, saya merasa lebih banyak, sorry in English. I was so aware of my ignorance because I thought it is like something good, but then from the discussion tonight, I was aware that we are so, or I'm so ignorant, and now I realize that it is not as good as, because I'm so, like superficial. I just look at as a common people without having background or experience, just from the news only. So I'm glad that I'm here to listen to all this discussion and all the warning. Then now I became aware that it's important for common people like me to be here and listen to being open-minded, and then listen to be ready to be, surprised or something. Yeah. So thank you, Pak Richard, for allowing me here as I'm not a scientist, just a normal people in this case. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Ibu Kirti is always an inspiration for me. I've been already 20 years for that. And I think, Bu, if people see this program and then we continue with this, there will be many people like you that do not know, do not hear, and become educated. That's why I think, Pak Chok, you need to do something also, Pak Chok. I give to you the floor. Pak Chok.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor, and everybody. I mean, I'm deeply appreciative. I think we have seen a demonstration of true compassion through concern, and I'm very touched as well, you know, by everybody's and Ole and everybody else actually, and your concern for this island, for Bali. No doubt we will be looking at implementation of the suggestions as well. You know, thank you so much, Francis, for your input on all of this. And this is not something that I take lightly at all. And I'll be making sure that the elders, the community leaders understand more about this, because I'm, you know, like many of you have said, and I have a research background actually in science, and a dengue fever research background in science. And so far I'm definitely, as a researcher, not satisfied with the answers that I've received tonight from a scientific point of view. I don't think that there is basis to you know, implement something of this gravity and of this nature, that again is not just about the welfare of humans, but it's also about the welfare of the entire ecosystem and the microbiome. And once again, just coming back to the very basics of it, in Bali, we've created this island through our devotion, our prayers, and our spiritual practices. And yes, I would have said once upon a time our respect for nature, although that is failing in many regards. I think that we need to be very, very cautious with how this proceeds. As you know, it's one thing to eradicate pests with external means, but to then start playing around with the internal workings of the microbiome is perhaps opening Pandora's box. And do we really need this? And the social, economic, but mostly the health and welfare implications. For me personally, as a member of this community, I would say that the risk is greater than the benefit at this stage. I don't think that there's any guarantees for safety that I would be confident to release another, you know, millions and millions. Like Ole was saying, it's not just 10 million, it will be rounds and rounds of millions of mosquitoes. I think, and a very good point about one little mosquito keeping you up at night. I don't think we need any more personally. Yeah, that's all from me. I mean, you know, may we all be, may we all be under the direction of the good God who guides, you know. May we be protected, may we be guided to choose the path of truth and the path of goodness for all. Thank you. That's all I'd like to say.
Wow, that's very deep, Charles. That's very deep. And I don't think that it's coincidence. It's all synchronicity that we have a good intention. We don't point our finger to anyone, but we want to benefit for everyone and for the nature, of course. And Ole, go ahead, Ole, you raise your hand.
You know, my brother and I, we were born in Denmark, but we moved to Sweden when we were kids, and we came to this beautiful, beautiful nature. I mean, absolutely incredible. And as far as I know, summers were beautiful. We could be outside and so. And then one year there started coming some miniature mosquitoes. They're called knot. I don't know where they came from. I have no idea, but they started really pestering nature. They came in such, I mean, in the millions. They could even kill cattle. And I mean, and that made people, like if you go to Sweden now, if you sit outdoors, it's like this. you know, with mosquitoes, it's very often you're like, what? You can't be outdoors. So imagine something like that happening to Bali, with the ceremonies, with the gatherings, with the cremations, with all of these, the offering, all of that. If you suddenly cannot be outdoors because you're like this. I mean, my brother mentioned that I go down to, drive down to the beach every morning to see the sun come up. Have you noticed how many mosquitoes there are at that time, you know, between 6 and 7 a.m.? It's like, imagine if that's all day long, in the millions and millions and millions. And then imagine the people that get bitten by them, because now, for some reason, it seems like they're very specifically tormenting women. I don't know if it's a blood group, or what I've noticed is my daughter and other women seem to be the ones that are really affected. Here I'm not. In Sweden I am. In Sweden I'm the one that they go for. So, or in Spain as well. So I mean, I can only say it needs to not happen, because you have no idea. You have no idea how many areas of life this can affect. Unbelievable, unbelievable. So, and I also want to say, looking from a global point of view, I mean, I'm involved with people from all over the world in standing up in truth and against these dark forces, just like one of the participants said here very wisely, same song, same song, same song, same song, same song, but different cassette. It's the same agenda over and over again. But what I see is that in most countries, it's foreigners that are standing up. Like here, because I adore Bali. I adore the people of Bali. I think I appreciate it more maybe than the Balinese. So it seems like we come from the outside. In Sweden, we're foreigners as well. Every single one that are standing up really is a foreigner. It seems like maybe we have to come from the outside and see with sort of like new type of eyes to see the beauty of places, to see that, my God, we need to stand up for this. You cannot just destroy it, because apparently the people who are living in these different places are so, well, I've lived here all my life. It's nothing new. It's the same, the same, the same. And you forget the beauty. I'm alone on the beach most mornings, you know, and that's not true. That is so not true. I take that back, because people come a little bit later than I. But anyway, so this is so worth taking care of. Stop it, stop it, stop it. You know, let's make templates of these letters, and with the filled in address, who they should be sent to, and let's bury them in papers. They love these papers, so let's bury them in them and say, we see you, we see what you're up to. It doesn't matter what kind of bonus you were maybe given underneath, or somebody is benefiting from this. That I can tell you, this is not done out of pure humanity and, oh my God, we're so kind. These are not like walking around Buddhas. They're not, I tell you that. These are hardcore businessmen, if not super psychos, that are behind these agendas. So please, please, please take care of this beautiful island. It's your island. And it's not only Bali, it's other places as well in Indonesia. It's so worth taking care of. This is the paradise on earth. Let it stay like that, and let not some individuals that are self-acclaimed world saviors that have no idea except from viruses when it comes to computers. I mean, why are there only viruses in the PC world, not in the Mac world? You can ask yourself that. They're making a fortune on creating viruses there as well, real viruses. And so, yeah, let's take the power back, completely nonviolent, just by the statement of no, absolute no, no, and no. Is so not going to happen. Whatever they say, it's a no. Go to the heart. Let your heart guide you.
Always like consistent. That's why I admire you, Ole, your courage. By the way, Ole is the first actually a person that we don't announce Gladiator, because we come is already Gladiator. You know, it's the first one. And as a Gladiator, you are storytelling all, you know. Torben, it's amazing you are two brothers. Torben, your microphone, Torben.
Torben, he's...
Because he raised his hand.
No, yeah, but
Okay.
maybe...
Okay, everyone. I think Pak Kun, you want to say something, Pak Kun? And after that, I come to yes.
I think it's enough, Prof. Yeah.
It's enough, yeah.
Yeah.
Francis, is enough, Francis? Or you want to say something?
Sorry, did you ask me if I wanted to say something?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, I did want to say that I don't think it is a coincidence that March is the time when it will finish. And I don't think it's a coincidence what was said about who holds the power. We still have a little power. Come March, we won't have any power. So I think that needs to go into our communications, because I just want the one thing that said about our weakened immune systems from all these intolerances to mosquito stings came from an article that said that they wanted to use, and how effective it would be to use the site of a mosquito sting to deliver vaccine. And so what you have, and then you have on the other hand, the World Health Organization saying, because of climate change, mosquitoes are migrating, which they can't migrate. They don't move more than a few hundred meters actually. But it is a plan, as you know, and come March, there will be such a problem with mosquitoes that they'll just have to deliver a vaccine to us all. And so I think we need to not just keep it as an immediate thing, but also to call out the change in power structure that is coming down the line.
So that's the closing remarks from our guest tonight. Thank you so much, and give a clap hand for everyone that participated in this. I'm thanking all of you, and I hope we will meet again in the next program of Gladiator Bangsa. Good night, everyone, and thank you for your contribution.